Hello, everyone, and welcome to Meet the President. I don't usually use a mic like this, but I know I'm supposed to so that the audio feed gets picked up into the webinar. So thanks everyone for coming. I'm Jenny Furlong. I direct the Office of Career Planning and Professional Development here at the Graduate Center. And I think I was picked for this because I have actually been to Josh's lab at Queens College. And I feel like that makes me one of the few people in the Graduate Center staff who has. So, did you want me to give your bio, Josh, or should we just launch into the question? Let's launch into the
If you're
question.
interested in my bio, it's on the web.
So, Josh, what initially brought you to the Graduate Center as a faculty member?
Well, as you already alluded to, I started out at Queens College. My tenure line still remains there in the psychology department. I'm a neuroscientist by training. And one of the chairman at the time who recruited me to Queens College, he said one of the benefits was you can associate with the graduate programs at the Graduate Center. And that guy's name was Rich Bodner, who was actually a graduate of the Graduate Center. And so when I came here in the fall of 2002, I was nominated for the faculty of psychology and biology because that was neuroscience kind of exists here at CUNY, and got very involved, with mentoring a doctoral student in my lab. First year, a student wanted to work with me, and so she was instrumental in setting up my lab. And then as things evolved, I got very involved with the one doctoral program in neuropsychology. And after 3 years, I became the head of that program for about 9 years, and then kind of started moving up the academic administrative ladder. And 22 years later, I wound up in this seat.
So it doesn't surprise me that Josh got involved with the Graduate Center through a student, because I do consider you a really strong advocate for students in this building. What do you think are the distinguishing characteristics you would say the GC has, and what sets us apart from other institutions?
Well, today we were meeting with colleagues from another country, and I said, the Graduate Center is like a unicorn. We are very unique. When the City University of New York decided to confer the doctoral degree in 1961, one possible solution is each of the we now call senior colleges, City College, Hunter College, Lehman College, Queens College, etc., could have had their own PhD programs. But that would have resulted in 8 relatively small programs. So instead, they created the consortial model, where we have one PhD program in mathematics, one in English, 31 disciplines right now. And what it does is it leverages the strength of the faculty across the CUNYverse. We have faculty on our different programs from every single campus, whether it is a community college, a senior college, or a professional school. And I think the diversity of the faculty in terms of their backgrounds is one of the real strengths. So when you're a graduate student and you want to come to study in one of our programs, you're not picking from just 20 faculty, but in most cases, you're picking from 70 to 100 faculty. It varies a lot by program. So I think that's one unique thing. The other unique is really the role that our students play within the larger, what I call CUNYverse. At many institutions, students serve as TAs. That's pretty typical. But I think what's very different here is our students serve as the instructors of record. Many of you probably have hopefully good memories of teaching these really remarkable CUNY undergraduates. And then the third thing, and this happens, I think, more in the social sciences and humanities than does the sciences, a lot of the research we do connects to the city we live in. And I think it's very important as a public institution of higher education that there is that interface between the scholarship we do in the libraries, in the laboratories, and sharing that with the community. And that's kind of one of the guiding lights behind our public programming that we have here at the Graduate Center. And on the way out, I invite everyone to take a flyer and come back to see some great programs. We have 2 Nobel laureates. We have many other awardees across the whole panoply of academic disciplines. So come back for more.
What do you think, and I, I know the answer to this question, it's a very short one, but I know you'll expand upon it too. What are some of the challenges that the GC faces?
Jenny's laughing because that was a question posed to me this morning by visiting academics. And I mean, the answer to all our questions is money. And that's, a trite answer, but really true. One of the struggles we have is that the cost of living in New York City is not cheap, and the support we can provide our students monetarily is not enough for them where they can just focus on their scholarship. Many, if not all of them, have to then get some other kind of gig on the side that allows them to do whatever it is that they came to the Graduate Center to do. And so one of my key goals is to try to find ways in which we can support our students, whether it's, I had a conversation with students today, how to support them to go to scientific or academic conferences, and there are different ways in which we have to support them. Another tension, of course, is the Graduate Center derives its faculty through the consortial system from all the campuses. The campuses sometimes don't like the fact that their faculty member is teaching here or doing service here instead of at the campus where they have their tenure line. And so one of the things that I've really been trying to do is meet with administrators on all those campuses to ensure that we have A, open lines of communication, and B, have understandings on what's the mutual benefit for their faculty to participate in our programs. And one of the biggest reasons is, of course, the scholarship. If you're a faculty member doing certain fields of study, being able to have a graduate student working with you or for you, depending upon the training model, is really important in your own ability to get tenured, promoted, and increase your scholarship. And so that's a real tangible benefit. Many faculty will tell you that they wouldn't come to CUNY, myself included, if they didn't get access to graduate students. So that's really the lifeblood of academic research, and that's a huge resource that we can provide. The other thing, and this is kind of another advantage, but is unique really to CUNY, is that we have 7 community colleges within our system. That's not unique, but those faculty contribute to our master's and doctoral programs. The director of several of our programs are, in fact, at community colleges, so they can basically span the academic lifespan from the associate's degree to the doctoral degree. And now we're trying to find ways in which our doctoral students can teach and interact with associate degree students at the community colleges, because that is going to give them a leg up should they want to make a career and teach at a community college. It's very rare at an R1 research institution that students would have any association with community college students. And, a good example of this is we're piloting a program this spring with Hostos Community College, whose president is a fellow GC alum. And there, our PhD students are going to serve as research mentors to the Hostos Community College students. And so that's going to help Hostos, and it's going to help our students not only gain experience, but also get us some additional pay.
Josh, I know in the year since you've been interim president and now president, you've been working really hard to build relationships with the CUNY campuses, the other ones, not just this one. Do you feel like you've started to see a shift in how the Graduate Center relates to the campuses? And what do you think could be made easier for both our students and our faculty if those relationships continue to grow and improve?
Yeah, I think we're definitely in a better position than we were a few years ago. The Hostos Community College is just one example, but we've been able to partner with some of the other senior colleges on a variety of different initiatives. And they're realizing that the GC is a resource that their faculty can avail themselves of, and it is not a drain on their resources. So I think educating them, one of the things that I did in my first year is I went and visited with every dean or president, depending on the administrative structure, in their office. So I took the time to visit them, whether it was at Lehman College in the Bronx or College of Staten Island out on the island or Queensborough Community College. And so to understand what their issues were and are. And I think the benefit to us is that, as I said, we need their faculty to teach our courses, provide administrative services. And I think when they realize it's a mutually symbiotic or beneficial relationship, it's more likely for them to give their assent. And I think we're seeing that most dramatically at one senior college where they had a policy where they said no executive officers can come from us, and they've now said that that policy is no longer in effect. So I think we're making strides, and the more that we can leverage the CUNYverse, I think the better it is for all of us.
The Graduate Center and CUNY, of course, sit in this kind of national context of higher ed. What do you see as important inflection points in the landscape of higher ed as a whole, and maybe particularly in doctoral education?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest change in higher ed is, of course, at public higher ed is state support. You know, you've kind of seen this erosion over years where it was state funded to state supported to state located. And, you know, I think in New York State, unfortunately, you know, our budget has remained relatively flat. And so I think the inflection point is finding ways in which we can diversify our revenue streams, whether it's through philanthropy or through external grants from philanthropic sources or governmental sources, city, state, federal, and I think we've made some inroads there. I think the other thing is, you know, still trying to make the case why the PhD is needed, as opposed to, you know, the joke was when I came back from defending my PhD, I went to the University of Pittsburgh. My grandmother asked me, when you're going to become a real doctor? And, you know, what is the value of the PhD in today's society? And I think the value is that you learn how to think, you learn how to problem solve, and you then learn how to make the argument why your solution to the problem is most effective. You know, as a graduate student, you delve very deeply into one area, but the skills you learn, whether it is archival research or laboratory research or learning how to do a survey and interview, have many applications. And, you know, through your office, Jenny, you know, it's connecting students with the idea that they don't all have to be faculty. You could have incredibly rewarding, impactful, meaningful careers by going into an infinite number of disciplines. And I know one of the things that your office has done a lot, and if you haven't listened to them, is created this really neat podcast series, Alumni Aloud, where you can hear interviews with alumni, and most of them go on to really interesting careers. They're not just a bunch of academics. And I think that's one of the most exciting things about the Graduate Center is that our graduates, you amongst them, go on to do things that really have an impact in whatever the community they choose to focus in.
I would definitely agree. And we're always looking for an Alumni Aloud volunteers if anyone is interested in hearing more. What do you think the Graduate Center's key strengths are? After having been in role of president for a year, gotten some terrific funded projects, including the new degree in computational biology, starting to get that underway. What do you think we're really kind of pushing forward on?
I think the thing is that the Graduate Center is willing to explore new areas. So we're not a state academic institution. You have to get your degree in English and art history and biology, but we're willing to think about where academics going, where are the new areas of inquiry. So Jenny referenced for program computational science that's being supported by the Simons Foundation. We were very fortunate to receive $75 million gift from the Simons Foundation to support this initiative. But similarly, we're very close to getting final New York State approval for a new PhD program in Black, race, and ethnic studies. So, and that was from support from the Mellon Foundation. So once again, really great ideas, and then we can sell these ideas to funders that are based in New York that are excited about what we're doing. And I think it's our faculty's willingness to cross these disciplinary boundaries that allow us to do these. In the past decade, we've developed a whole suite of new master's programs that are really unique. Like, we happen to have the country's only master's program in biography and memoir, and able to twin that with the Leon Levy Center for Biography, which just received a $10 million gift from the Leon Levy Foundation to really boost that up. And Biography America said we're the best place in the country to study biography and memoirs. So the academic is working with some of these centers is great. And I think you're seeing that. Another place where you're seeing this interdisciplinary interaction is around climate change and sustainable cities. I don't think it'll be open when you leave tonight, but would welcome you back if you go into the James Gallery, our art space, this semester. You'll be seeing a exhibit about climate and environment and how people interact with that. And we have a whole $2 million focus program in the Center for Humanities, partnering with local organizations that are working to advocate for resiliencies within their communities, specifically communities of color. And at the same time, at our Advanced Science Research Center, we have just received an $11 million grant from NASA to study kind of climate change and how that's impacting different metrics like water and air quality, et cetera, et cetera. And so finding these quote unquote societal problems and then attacking them from many different angles. Another good example coming up in October is we're having a conference on artificial intelligence impact on the visual arts. When you see every day AI is doing this and AI is doing that, really about how AI is impacting, some sort of scientific thing or leading to some deep fake in politics. But in the background, AI is really turning upside down many different fields. One, of course, is in music. It used to be you're creating an ad, you need to get a composer to make your jingle. Now you do it with an AI. We had one of the leaders in artificial intelligence and music come and speak here at the end of August. And then we have this conference coming up in October that's going to be looking at how AI is affecting the visual arts. And these are things that are, I think, just another example how we're looking at these big changes in society and how they're affecting the city, but not necessarily looking at what every other university is doing, but finding ways in which we have a unique ability to ask interesting questions about a topical issue.
What are some goals you have for the GC this year and maybe over the next few years?
Well, I think the number one goal is to find ways to better support our students, and that's not just monetarily, but to support them with the necessary professional development. Your office and the ancillary offices under you, the Writing Center, Quantitative Research and Consulting Center, and the digital initiatives. So our students not only get the training in their discipline, but also they learn techniques that are quite marketable when they go out on the marketplace. Also, of course, is trying to find ways in which we can better support our students through, I think, partnering with many of our CUNY campuses to find additional ways in which they can repurpose existing funds instead of hiring outside people to hire more of our students to provide services when appropriate. One good example of this is there is a huge need for mental health counselors at the undergraduate campuses, we host 3 clinical psychology PhD programs. And so with the central office, we created clinical psychology fellows, and they are working within the mental health clinics at the different campuses to provide services to the undergraduates. And that's an example that benefits our students. They get paid, of course, but they also get experience that is very useful to them when they then go out and apply for jobs. And in that field, you need a certain number of contact hours with patients. So it actually also helps them in their academic progression. So I think finding things like that where we can help at CUNY. Other things that I'm trying to do is, of course, making the GC a more efficient institution. Can we do things to streamline some of our processes and bring the community back to this, marvelous building? We brought back food. We didn't have food for almost 3 years, and we brought back food into the cafeteria downstairs, right down that you can see behind me last October. And this fall, we reopened the coffee shop and a bar. For those of you who are in the old building, you remember there was a bar. Now that we have food in the building from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and the alcohol starts pouring at 4 p.m. And we've created a really welcoming space. It was a really dark space. It was like we were trying to save energy. But now it's brighter, more efficient lighting, so it doesn't cost any more. And I think that's been a really good thing. And then trying to find additional ways, because to your earlier question about challenges, one of the things that we've seen post-pandemic is education has become very much more transactional. People come in for their class or the meeting with the faculty, whatever, and then they leave. It used to be, in my experience, that students would come in the morning, hang out in the departmental lounges, go to the library, maybe visit your office, go to the cafeteria, whatever it was, but they would base their day in this building, and that's not happening as much. And we're trying to give them reasons to come back to the building and feel happy in the building and supported in the building.
Before we open up for questions from the audience, is there anything I missed? Anything you'd like to say that I didn't ask you about?
No, I mean, one of the reasons, we're having this event today, and I'm so happy there's so many alumni, both in person and online, is, it's very important, I think, for our students of today to connect with those of you who have walked before. Sometimes, as you know, graduate school can be a very long road. And I think it's very reassuring that they know that they can get to the finish line and now walk across Lincoln Center every June and get there, get hooded. And I think finding ways in which our students can connect with alumni and alumni can give some of the knowledge to our present students is something that we're trying to do much more of. And we convened a committee, as you know, because you were on it last year, to think about strategies of alumni engagement. This was one such idea, and we're going to be talking with the programs throughout the year about more program-specific things, so you can learn about what's happening in anthropology or art history or urban education, depending upon what your background is, and try to say, hey, remember, you can remember I was a student like that 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. I wish I had known this. And you will now have the opportunity to say, hey, you know this, or provide. You might be in a position where your workplace is hiring someone and they're like, we wish we can get another one of you. Well, we have a lot of yous here at the Graduate Center, so obviously we can try to make that connection.
Well, I just want to say we are also happy to have Josh as our official president. And part of the reason that came about is really because Josh had, I would say, the near unanimous support of faculty and staff. And we are all just so glad to have you, Josh. I feel very grateful. And part of that is because of Josh's wonderful enthusiasm for supporting our students, for making their lives as smooth as possible for graduate students living in New York City, which in itself is not always going to be smooth and easy, and especially for streamlining some of these really complicated CUNY processes that just students find perplexing and hard to work with. So thank you so much, Josh. We're so glad to have you.
My pleasure.
And questions from the audience?
Yep. And I'm just going to repeat the question so they can hear it online. Okay.
Offering PhD grads starting, I think it was last year, to purchase used regalia in this very room, saving us $1,000. That was genius. And if that was
I think that would have been Wendy's group, who's our vice president, communications and marketing, who handles the graduation details. So yeah, no, I don't have my own regalia because when I graduated, I couldn't believe the price. So I totally get that. Yes, please. Yeah, for every $1 spent on higher education in New York State, approximately 60 cents goes to SUNY and 40 cents goes to CUNY. Now, they are a larger institution, so take that with a little grain of salt. They have 64 campuses. We have 25. We have about 250,000 students. They have about 400,000 students. So there is some reason, but by and large, SUNY does get a lot more bells and whistles. I've learned that a lot more sitting in this seat than I did in the past. And I'm also involved in Governor Hochul's Empire AI initiative. So I sit on the board with the SUNY provost. And I kind of talk to him, and then he's like, oh, didn't you get this or that? And the answer, of course, always is no. And how do we change that? And one of the things we did last year, this is the first time this has been tried, is, Albany, there's budget season, which runs from January, when the governor gives their executive budget very close to New Year's. And then it's supposed to end by the end of March, because by the New York State Constitution, the budget has to be enacted by April 1st. And so I did the pilgrimage to Albany 4 times to meet with different legislatures, met with the governor to try to plead the case for the Graduate Center and for CUNY at large. Politically, the challenge is that we're located, as you mentioned, just in one place, but SUNY is located in every place. So they just have a larger political constituency than we do, so votes count. I think the one thing that we did last year, which was super effective based on feedback we got, is instead of going separately, all 9 CUNY deans or presidents from Manhattan, we went one day. We went other times, but we went one day and we did a joint presentation in front of all the state senators and assembly people and their staff from Manhattan. So, it was and then we followed that up with individual visits, and we got a lot of really positive feedback. Now, whether that changed the conversation or not, I don't know. I mean, CUNY's overall year-over-year budget did go up. I don't remember how many tens of millions of dollars it did go up, but those funds go to different things. One thing we tried last year for the first time, and I believe we're going to do again when budget season comes, is that we did a webinar. We sent it out to the alumni list, and I know a good number of alumni. And how to activate the alumni to write their assembly people or their state senators to support, the SUNY, the CUNY budget, that is. And so we're going to try that again, because once again, for us, the presidents, the opportunity cost was almost zero. We had to show up at a Zoom. And in fact, I didn't have to go. I just had to invite people. And Carol Mason from John Jay and Vince Boudreau from City College, and I think Christine Mangiano from Queensborough Community College were the three speakers last year. And so we're going to do more of that. I mean, right now, you would think we're in a pretty good position, because Andrea Stewart Cousins, who is the majority leader of the New York State Senate, is a Lehman College grad, and Carl Hastie is a Baruch College grad, and 2 out of 3 people in the room. But I think we have to convince the governor that we're worth it. And one of the piece language that I've been trying to use is the governor sees SUNY as the research university, right? The 4 research centers. They define that: Stony Brook, Albany, Binghamton, and Buffalo. And I say, well, how can you do research and not include New York City? So can the Graduate Center be the complement to those 4 SUNYs? And I think our involvement in Empire AI is beneficial, because now, you interact with the governor more regularly, because this is one of her big projects. It's a $250 million capital investment from New York State. And there's 6 university partners, and we all get 1 vote. So we're equivalent to CUNY, SUNY, Columbia, RPI, NYU, and Cornell. And so I think that is beginning to change the conversation, but I don't think it happens in 1 year. But these are the strategies we're taking.
Any other questions?
Please. Well, no, we're so glad you can come back, and alumni, as I mentioned before, are very important. I mean, we're very proud of all of your accomplishments, and we're trying to provide more services to our alumni, and you'll be seeing that in communications from your different programs over the next year. Like, for example, you can come and use the library here. I saw Brian. He came a little early today, and you can get an alumni ID card, so you can still access the building easily, so you don't have to show your driver's license and stuff like that. And we of course welcome you back to any of our public programs. As I mentioned, we're going to have, for me as a scientist, we're going to have the woman who won the Nobel Prize for creating the mRNA vaccine. She will be with us this fall. Paul Krugman, who's on our faculty, will be having a discussion about the economy. We're going to have CNN Espanol here to talk about the election. We're having, it was just reviewed in the Times, I think last week. The author of the new biography of Ronald Reagan is speaking. I think it's next week. So we really have some fabulous programs coming up this fall, and we'll have an equally fabulous stuff in the spring. You can't come here in person. They're all live streamed, and we then put them up on YouTube. So you can see them in really any way that works for your schedule. And if you happen to work in Midtown, once a month we have a concert, typically by our Doctor of Music Arts students down in Ella Bosch Recital Hall during lunchtime. I think it starts at noon. Music in Midtown is the series. So if you like Baroque or classical music, that's largely the focus of that series.
Our DMA students are fabulous. They're extraordinarily talented, and I always feel lucky to work with them because they're a lot of fun. Any last questions for Josh before we retire to receptioning? Well, thanks so much, everyone, for coming. We're delighted to see you. And yeah, please stay and enjoy.